Welcome to the Nate Jones Show.
Thanks for having me.
Our first episode, and we have my wife, Cami Jones, and business partner in crime on the podcast.
Hello.
So Cami's probably going to be on almost all of our podcasts.
We'll see.
As in the background or as another personality.
Yep.
But the purpose of the podcast is to bring on entrepreneurs and bring on advice to those who are seeking about starting a business or have started a business. And they're like, hey, how can we get to the next level? How can we scale our business to that level in which we're done just me and myself and my eye in the business? How can we get to scaling it to financial freedom?
Yeah. Just offering good advice for those people out there who want to take a next step and do something for themselves and take the risk.
That's right. So today we're going to talk through our past of what we were doing before we started our business and what the process has been like through this whole entire from start to where we're at now and where we're heading, what we've learned, these lessons, the hard lessons of business that I say you can only learn by either somebody else experiencing problems or you experiencing the problems and solving it.
Yep.
So why don't you start with where we got inspiration to become entrepreneurs?
Yep. So right when Nate and I got married, we moved to South Carolina. You took a job down there, got married, and then I ended up getting a job at the same company as Nate did. And so kind of cut our teeth there, learned, about business, how they operate.
Learn how to work together.
How to work together in a business, in a professional setting, not just at home. It was a great experience. We worked with a lot of business owners there, so we got to know their backstory and why they started and the success that they saw and how they got there, which was just amazing. And
it was interesting seeing that up to this point before I was working at this place, business owners used to be put up on a pedestal.
Right.
They were, those guys are the smartest in the room. They're the most capable. That's why they're in charge. Because in school we learn, hey, the person who got the A is the smartest person in the class.
Right.
But in reality, in the business world, it's not the A student that owns the business. It's usually the B or C student. So we learned, hey, if these guys who some of them just took a risk, just took a chance because they had nothing else going. And that's how they started their business. And that's why their business was 5, 10, 20 million. And the people that were working for them were the people that had great grades. So it opened my mind to saying like, hey, if these guys can do it, why can't we do it?
Yeah, I think there was a story of one guy who literally got in a fight with his manager and he couldn't find work anywhere else. So he was like, well, might as well go do it for myself. And he did. And now he has like $1 million company. And so Nate and I were in this environment every single day hearing these stories, and you kind of get thinking sometimes like, well, if they could do it, if they took the risk, what's stopping us, right? Like, why can't we do that? And I think that's really where, other than our background and history of wanting to own a company.
And from a money standpoint, if you don't own a company, your salary is only going to be within the median to maximum of what that position can make. So until you get equity in a company, you're very fixed on what you can earn. So we sat here and we're like, okay, well, we understand that it's more attainable to be a business owner than we've ever thought. And what's our earning potential right now? And are we okay with our earning potential? And we weren't. We said, hey, I believe we can do something more. I believe that we can make more starting our own company. Right. And the only way to do that is to get equity in either an existing company, buy a business, or start your own business from scratch.
Yeah.
So, and then when we did that, we planned ahead, and I would say we were thinking about it critically, and there was one day that we just threw our hands up and we said we weren't going to do it.
Yeah. There was we honestly started thinking about doing our own thing, maybe 6 months into the other job, like very quickly on, we considered it. And then we started planning, we started writing everything out. And at that moment we were like, oh my gosh, this is going to require so much work Is this really what we want to do? And we were like, no, I don't think so. But it always, the thing about entrepreneurship is it sits in the back of your head and it just eats you alive. Like if you're not going after what you really want to do in life, it's stuck there and it won't get out of your head. And you can probably talk to that more.
Yeah, I would say the nice thing is either owning a business, being an entrepreneur, or being a salesperson, where if you can make more money at a job, if you just show up and you work hard and you make sales and you get bonuses based on those sales, then yeah, it's pretty much like running your own business. But going to a job every day and just saying, okay, well, I guess my bonus is going to be 10% if I'm lucky. What if I don't get that bonus? Like your complete reaction to your career versus actually grabbing your career and saying, this is what I want.
Right.
And I always wanted to have the freedom to implement my ideas and really go after things. And when you're not the owner, you're constantly asking for permission. And then there's always these, hey, let's slow down. Let's not do that. Like, so you're constantly being throttled down, and then it kind of just demotivates you to go to work every day. And you feel like, what am I doing? What am I building? And that's why I think a lot of people go into fitness and they dive into these things that aren't entrepreneurship because they don't have that entrepreneurship thing that they're going after, so they have to go after something in their life.
It's almost like they're trying to build something. Like all of us as human beings, I feel like, strive to create something and build something and improve something. So if that's not a business, it's going to be what you eat and your body, or it's going to be traveling, or it's going to be like these hobbies, the guitar playing, video game playing.
Yeah.
And I mean, we can attest to that because we were probably in the best shape of our life when we were working for someone else. But like you said, like the entrepreneurship thing just sticks with you and eats you alive.
And your money, like being a business owner, I learned, we were at a conference and this guy was talking about how he sold his company for millions and millions of dollars. And it was the first time in my life that I'm like, oh, so if you're a business owner, not only do you get to save for retirement, but you also get the massive check when you want to sell your business if you build the right business.
Right.
And it's called multiples on EBITDA, which is net income. So he was talking about his EBITDA and how what multiple he got because his revenue was so high. And it was like, oh, so I'm not building equity. I'm not building a business that I can't sell. I'm just putting money in a 401k.
Right.
And I'm going to have $2 to $3 million when I retire, and I'm going to live this simple life, where this guy is not more smarter than I am, but he built a business and worked hard, so he gets rewarded for it.
Right.
So that's what we did. That was our thought process. And the reason that we didn't think, we were like, oh, this is how much clients we need to make X, Y, and Z. And we were like, screw that.
Yeah.
Like, that's not worth it. But then you realize, oh, even if I don't replace what I was making before, it's still better working for myself than it is working for somebody else.
Right.
I would rather make less money working for myself than make more money working for somebody else.
Yep.
Because there's still the chance that I'm going to go out there and I'm going to be able to make way more. And that's been the case for us, is we've doubled to tripled what we were making at our previous job. So now, well, we have nowhere to go but up, as long as we continue to grow our business, and then we can sell our business down the road.
And that was probably the scariest thing about actually stepping out and doing something on our own, I would say, was the salary cut. And like going from making a salary, an expected income every single month, to zero was pretty scary. Do you want to talk about how we kind of prepared for that?
Yeah. So when we were thinking about starting a business, we were saying, okay, let's plan for being able to go an extended period of time without taking a paycheck. Because when you can go an extended period of time without taking a paycheck, it takes the pressure off of you to, I think we saved up 9 months to a year.
I think, yeah, we were around a year of we could just coast and not make any money.
So we did that so that we weren't forced to give up on our dreams if it was taking a little bit longer than we expected. Now, it motivated the heck out of us, and we started making money probably, 2 to 3 months in.
Yeah, I would say we
turned a profit 6 months in.
We turned a really good profit around 6 months is when we really started doing well. But we made a profit probably 2 months in. Well, we made income about 2 months in, and we were making money. But around 6 months, we were like, okay, this is actually going to work. But with saving up the money to step out, we wanted to give ourselves the longest runway possible. And that's not always easy. I remember we were in a 1-bedroom apartment and didn't buy nightstands. Like, we were like, nope, we're going to save this money. Like, just put
this
your
is
phone.
while we were making really good money on Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. And we were like, we're leaving Hilton Head Island to go live in the Midwest where there's no ocean. And yeah, I mean, it's hard to go from making really good money to saving it. But if you say, hey, this is a pivot that I need to make in my life so that down the road in 20 years, we're going to thank ourselves that we put ourselves in that position of not comfortability for 9 months so we can have the ultimate comfortability of being a business owner.
Correct.
And having the freedom to be able to go on trips when we want to and not have to ask people.
I think another thing that we did too while thinking about starting and going off on our own is we kind of looked at the situation and said, okay, what's the worst that could happen, right? Like, what's the absolute worst that could happen if we quit our jobs, moved back home, and started a business, right? Well, you start thinking and you're like, the worst that could happen is it fails. And then what happens? You go get a job. Like, you're right where you started. So why don't you try it? We had no kids. We were just by ourselves. We had a good savings saved up. I mean, if the worst thing happened, we would go get a job like we were already doing.
Yeah, because there's nothing worse than working for somebody else and being like, I could start my own, like that guy. And that guy's probably in your office right now saying, like, I want to start my own business. It's like, well, why don't you go do it? And if you're successful, then you were right. And if you're not successful, you're going to have a completely different perspective coming back to working for somebody else.
And you have no regret because you tried it. Like, that's one of our kind of core principles in life is like, you're going to do the thing that you look back at and regret least.
Yeah.
So like, if you look at a situation and you have two options, you say, which one am I going to regret, I guess, the most, and follow that path. So like, starting a business was something, if we don't do now, we would regret it for years to come. And so we were like, let's step out, let's do it.
And it's just, like I said, if it doesn't work out, like I've said to Cami multiple times, my thinking of when I was an employee was off compared to what it's like to be an owner.
Absolutely.
Like, our expectations of our business owners are very high. And I don't believe sometimes we understand what they're going through. So like, now seeing it from the other side of the table, it's helped me have a completely new perspective on, hey, I had some unreal expectations when I was an employee.
100%.
So now once we stepped out and we started, that first year, your first year is the hardest year in business because nobody knows who you are. Everyone's waiting for you to fail, and you're getting no referrals, and you're working 10 times as hard just to get one client. And a lot of people quit that first year because they're expecting that, hey, I deserve to be in business because I came up with this idea. You don't deserve to be in business. You earn to be in business. So every single day, that first probably 3 months in business, we worked 12-hour days. Like, I remember my dad, because we were living at my dad's house until we moved into our new house, and we were living there for like a month, and he'd be like, you guys are working too much. And it's like, well, the world does not care that I started a business.
Yep.
The world is saying, hey, let me see you work for it. Because if you're not going to work for it, we're not going to give you anything. So we built a website. One thing I remember is we built that website, and we talked to that guy, and he showed us, hey, have you ever heard of SEO, which is search engine optimization? Means when people search, we own an insurance agency, so people search like trucking insurance Indianapolis, we show up. So if you wanted to prove that, you can search trucking insurance Indianapolis, and we show up. And this guy told us, he said, hey, you need to learn SEO, because we had this super sleek website with a few words. And I was like, oh, so like throughout our whole first year in business, we just pivoted.
Yep.
And we changed different things. Like, we were like, oh, we can go after this. This doesn't work. Okay, this doesn't work. So like what you were saying is that, hey, that first year in business, you're just trying to see whatever works.
Yeah. I think the first year is really just keep the baby alive. So you're trying to make money. You're trying to see how you get sales, how your processes work. Does networking work? Does door knocking work? Does cold calling work?
Yeah, we
does
tried door
mailers
knocking.
work? We've tried every single one of these.
In your business, whatever it is, there's different flows of how you bring in business. And for you to say, hey, I know this flow is going to work, and you don't try other things, that is completely negligent of you being a business owner. You need to pay attention to everything that could possibly work and try it all, and then give it a good faith effort. And if it doesn't work, then say, okay, I'm going to pivot here.
Yeah.
So like what's been really successful for us is we've been great at cold calling. Do I love cold calling? Heck no. I hate it. But I do it because it brings in revenue to our company. So like if I only did the things I wanted to do, our company would be 1/17 the size.
Yep.
Because so you have to do the things that actually work. And a lot of people think that being a business owner is, I do all the things I love every day. Like that's not it. I hate managing social media. I hate dealing with clients sometimes, but we have to do those things to be successful in business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely the things that you, especially as a small business owner, I mean, you're wearing every single hat every single day.
You just got to find solutions that first year.
Yep.
Take action and find solutions, because if you don't find solutions, like it's not going to work. Don't be hard-headed to the fact that, hey, there's multiple ways of you being successful in business and you bringing money. And that's the number one thing that we don't see business owners do, because we work with business owners all the time, is that they don't focus on the revenue. They don't focus on the sales.
Right.
They start bringing in a little bit of sales, and then they go, oh, well, I'm going to get lured in by this technology or this shiny thing, and then I'm going to get off of sales because
it's not fun.
Yeah, it's not fun. It's going to keep coming in, but then
Yep.
you stop making, because I've seen this. I don't make as many cold calls. I'm focusing on this.
Yep.
But it's like, what got us to this point? Well, cold calling.
Yeah, I think the number one thing that just small businesses in general kind of fail at is going back to the roots when you first started and you were so desperate and hungry and wanting sales. And like, every business is a sales organization. There has to be money somehow. You have clients, you have transactions, you're making money through people. So if that's the case, you need to get back to what makes you money.
Yeah,
And-
you figure out how to do one sale and you continue to optimize it.
Yep.
So for us, like, optimizing it has been a little bit different. That's been, hey, we're no longer going to reach out to companies this size because their insurance spend isn't that much. We get paid off their insurance spend. So we're going to try to reach out to larger companies that we can help. Therefore, we make more money because the spend is bigger.
Yep.
So I'm optimizing. I'm still making the same sale, though. So, like, I'm doing the same thing that I've always done. It's just bigger deals now. But I'm continuing to optimize how quickly we can do it, how good we can do it. But at the same thing, the funnel of having that sale still has to remain the same. Because if you remove the funnel and you're like, we don't need to do that, and you optimize everything else, well, you can have a well-oiled machine, but if the machine never gets turned on, it's never going to produce anything. So you got to remember, like, as you grow, sales should be the most important thing in your business.
Always.
Yeah, 100%. Because if not, you're going to lose customers easily. Because you're not nurturing them. And if you're not replacing them with customers, then they're going to eventually go out of business.
Yeah, you're just shrinking as a business owner. So yeah, I think the first year honestly was just keeping the baby alive, getting to that 1 year mark, making a revenue profit, pivoting, being flexible.
Seeking out advice from people.
Yeah, we talked to a lot of people who were either previous agency owners, which is what we are, who were in our industry, who left for one reason or another. And we just asked them, hey, how did you do it? What advice would you give us? Can we go to coffee? Can we pick your brain for what you did?
And not all those tips were good. Like, just because somebody ran a business and they were quote unquote successful at it doesn't mean that's what you should do, because their context is different. So like, whatever business you're going to start, just because you meet with somebody and they were successful, make sure that that works for you, instead of blindly taking everybody's advice.
And I think another thing, I guess this is maybe going into year 2. But when you start a business, like one thing that we did is we looked at our life and said, what do we want our life to look like? Mm-hmm. And we picked a business and we designed our business around what life we wanted, right? Mm-hmm. So like we want the flexibility to travel and work. We want to be able to potentially take our kids somewhere and not have to worry.
Our business is 100% virtual when 99% of other companies like ours have a brick and mortar office.
Yeah, and we're still incredibly successful, but that was one thing going into it that we knew we wanted to not.
So don't be a franchise, because the first year you're just happy to be there. You're like the ugly kid at prom. You're just happy to be in the room. Going into year 2, you can start to year 2 and 3 where we're at. Year 3 is we're forming what we want our business to be, mm-hmm. who we want our clients to be. At the beginning, we were taking any client. Oh, you want to buy insurance for us? Thank God, thank you. And then now it's like, okay, wait, do you fit the mold that we're trying to build?
Right.
And it's the same thing in your business. Whatever business you're trying to build, you have to start to say, okay, what do I want? I used to look at people and they would say, oh, I don't do that anymore. In my business, maybe it was a contractor. Oh, we don't do that anymore. And I used to think, why would they not do that? Why would they? It's money. Why would they not do that? And like now I get it, because they're building the business that they want, and they may miss out on a little bit of profit, but they're also missing out on a huge headache if they believe that's a headache. So for us, is we're minimizing our headaches, fine tuning what we want our business to look like, so it's ready to propel and grow, because you can't grow if you don't define what you want.
Right.
Because if not, you're growing all over the place and it looks like an unmanaged garden. You need to have a garden that's pruned and ready to go, and it knows where it's going.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what a business is.
That's one thing I would advise to anyone out there. If you're looking at starting a business, make sure you look at what you want your life to look like, and pick a business based off of that and what you're good at, what you're passionate about as well. But we can talk about going into year 2 and kind of the lessons, because we're, almost 3 years in business now?
3 years.
Yeah.
Yep. So, I mean, you just get new problems. Anytime you grow your business, year 1, like you said, you're trying to stay alive. And then year 2, you're just starting to get new problems. Like we had to hire an employee, and we had to let that employee go. And because we need to learn how to hire the right people, and we need to learn how to keep the right people around, and when to let people go, when's the right time to bring somebody on. All those things you're going to learn. You're going to learn who the right person for your organization is. But you're going to make mistakes first, because you have to make the mistakes to know what you screwed up on. Now, you can sit here and say, well, I've done this research and that research, and that's great. You can do all the research in the world, but until you actually get in that seat and you have to let somebody go, those are new problems that you didn't have year 1. Mm-hmm. And growth problems. Okay, well, now we're busy managing what we have. What about the decision to grow here, the decision to grow here? You have a whole new set of problems. And a lot of people get scared of those problems, and they don't grow their company. They don't hire people because they're scared of, hey, I had to fire somebody once, which that's what happened to us. We had to let somebody go, and then we're down in the dumps for 4 to 5 months before we pull our bootstraps up, and we're like, okay, well, back to ground zero. Let's keep, hammering this thing away. But a lot of people, they go, oh, this is hard. I just went through hard, but at every level in business, you got to bust through the next ceiling, and you're going to have stuff fall on you, and you got to wipe yourself off, go up. And every level, there's problems.
Yeah, absolutely. You just got to keep going. I mean, it's definitely difficult, but just keep going, and you'll figure it out. I mean, honestly, like Nate was saying, there's so much research you can do and videos you can watch, but until you're actually in the situation and going through it, mm-hmm. It's hard to learn. And that's okay. Like, it's okay to know that you're going to fail over and over and over again. Yeah. And that's where you have to be flexible. That's where you have to pivot. That's where you have to just be resilient and come out of it and say, we're going to make it work no matter what. We're going to figure it out. Let's not let problems fester. Let's not let issues fester. We're going to get after it.
And you got to be able to sleep. You got to be able to be okay with sleeping with things that you don't know the answer to, or that you don't know how they're going to turn out. You're like, okay, I don't know how this is going to turn out. Instead of me stressing about it, which it was like 2 days ago for us. Like, I'm like freaking out. I'm like, what is this? And then it's like, Cammie's like, hey, we're not going to know the solution until X, Y, and Z. So why are you upset? Like, you just got to deal with it. You got to deal with it until the solution comes out. Yep. And so as a business owner, you got to be okay with dealing with that heavy stress, and then it goes away, and then you're like, wow, business is great. And then you get punched in the face again. So you got to keep getting punched in the face and keep moving forward. So any closing remarks?
I mean, I would just say go for it. It's been a ride. It's been an adventure, but completely worth it.
Yep. And if you liked today's podcast, don't worry, we're going to be recording more, and we're going to have different business owners on in the future, but we're going to be bringing this once a week. So if you like what you've seen today and you want some more of it, it's coming. Hit like and subscribe. Thanks.